Nice fresh straw.
Which is like Chrysler. Yeah. Facility.
I can't see the tenant.
Started here. They just kind of like started buying stuff out, and then that's kind of when they put driven brands in for that. But yeah, they're growing.
Had to put a dog down there, so went to the vets, put her
So
down,
Anthony
she's
Tigers
like
actually
16.
had,
And the other one's legs swelled up, so she tried to the vet, and I said, I gotta be in my house by 5, so I gotta go.
He's not yet. I'm trying. Fitz, yeah, so he works for Fitz, yeah, either Fitz or Synovus. I just knew whenever I pretty much was out my work at SRW, I called him and you always said if I wanted to move somewhere, you'd help me, and so it's like, you don't want to work here.
And then the other son-in-law who loved
Yeah. So
I called Jonathan.
he had,
Increase the
yeah,
size.
right.
This is what he's like.
Yeah.
So here's the phone. He's put back in his then maybe like that.
So, yeah, I think I'm over there.
And it was just,
Oh, that fucker down is,
it's just.
So he,
yeah. This one had started to die
and then they moved, so then
3 months ago, and I didn't think she'd last.
and the next thing that was 4 years old. No, not Monroe. I don't remember where they moved to in Charlotte.
Can't always see very good.
No, probably working on that, yeah.
You want that larger?
Yeah.
You want that larger?
Yeah, bigger. I can't really, I have one for her.
But yeah, Anthony's actually the senior for, oil change.
Both of those guys.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, I know, I don't either. Yeah. Yeah, pretty much everybody that's been there, I mean, they ran off Lisa Smith, they ran off, they fired Melinda, which was Rick's wife. No, Rick Rhodes. Yeah.
Is it the independent
It
building?
is. It's
Thomas is
so
still
built.
there that I know of.
Oh, that's right. He was
This
the
is
church.
Yep, they ran him off. Yeah, he called me and told me to put in his notice about a month before I did. And I was like, I'm not far behind you. So, because I was originally trying to get a job with Navy Federal, but their hybrid schedule, I would have had to drive to Vienna, Virginia 4 times a month, which is a lot from Raleigh, so didn't necessarily work out.
Yeah.
And I was already removed from working with SW, so it was nice to be able to stay remote with this job.
Now, this has got a gate.
Yeah.
This is the one that's got the open
I
back.
mean, he's pretty much the only person that's running it, you know. I don't know what they're doing over there. They did so much for sure.
Yeah, which I know.
I like it when you shake, I like it when you shake your head. Yeah.
Trade shows and stuff.
Yeah.
You expecting Keith? All right, we'll go ahead and get started. It's 5:32. We'll go ahead and call the order. Roll call, please.
All right, Jim McLean,
Here.
Keith Bailey, Paul Muscati,
Here.
Sandra York,
Here.
Carolyn Lomas,
Here.
and Cindy York.
Carol, can you verify the notification for posting on the meeting agenda?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Great. Can I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Can I have a second, please?
Yes.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Jim, would you lead us in the pledge of allegiance?
Well,
Let's circle the face.
yes, sir, let's go on the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let's try to close it.
Good thing Keith's not here.
If y'all could take a minute to look at minutes from the last meeting and give me the motion to approve. I move we approve them as presented.
I'll second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Looks like we've got two action items tonight. Carol, can you tell us what we have?
Yes, the first is a certificate of appropriateness for an applicant that's coming back for the change in colors for the sign and parts of the building for the car wash at 109 Main Street. And the applicants are here. They brought a lot more colors and options. I think that was the concern. And I didn't print them out for every single one because there's just so many options, but they were in your packet. And I'm happy to make them available if y'all want to look at them. And I think that's Jessica Steele is here, the applicant.
Great.
I also have swatches that I grabbed that I can pass out to you guys too.
Okay, great.
So you'll find that the Azuri Tide, which is our alternative to blue, is in this pamphlet. It's like a special design color, so it's marked in this pamphlet with an X. But here's the.
We'll share.
Oh, I have enough for everybody.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Sorry.
That's all right.
I probably should have just given you guys a hand to pass one down, but here we are.
So, that must be the alternative for this.
You're welcome. I don't know if you guys heard or not, but the Azuri Tide, which is our alternative to, or alternative, second blue color, that is, it's considered like a special color ceremony, so they don't cover it in their normal like paint swatches, so we found that. And it's marked with an X too for your reference.
Each time you look at it.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
You'll notice that color blue.
So you guys want to see the colors?
And they changed their sign.
Well, I don't know if they did or not, did they?
Well, did you want, I think so.
Oh, did they? Oh, okay.
I think so. That's what
I have to buy it.
But don't quote, because you had said YouTube, more YouTube. And this is the one, I guess, the new one.
It's coming up in here.
Oh, yeah.
Somewhere else I would. Because I don't think it's a
Before we start, Carol, do you want to ask the question that
Yes.
you had on your mind just before we get going?
Yes, as all of y'all already know, I love the car wash. Keeps me clean at my house with my cars and trucks and all. But the car wash, and I'm not sure which, when it was built. It's either less than a year old or just a little bit older than a year old. What is the necessity of repainting a structure that's not even, I'm gonna say, a year and a half old? I realize the signage, of course, needs to be changed. There's no question about that. But I just wondered what was the necessity of changing the colors. I know that this board, I wasn't on the board at the time that the colors were chosen by the owners then, but they're very pleasing. So-
Yeah, no, so the main reason of taking that red away is just because it's not within our brand. Our brand is typically blue, black, or white. And then we have an alternative gray color, which I know Joe, my painter that was here last time y'all had this meeting, told you guys. So that's really the only reason. We bought it from Figs Car Wash. Their primary color was red. Ours is not red. It's, like I said, it's not within our brand. And it just, doesn't really make sense for us to open a car wash that's not within our brand standard color-wise, so.
Well, could you exchange the red for maybe the blue and just leave the rest? But that's just a question.
What do you mean? Like, so the only thing that's red to my knowledge is the awnings and then the tower caps. We would just paint, you're saying we could just paint those blue?
Yeah, well, I don't know.
You see, all was issued in January 23, so it's not a year old, it's about 6, 8, 9 months old.
January 23rd.
Yes, it's when these, I think it was issued to open it up. My concern with all of this is that we spent a tremendous amount of time, over a year and a half, getting this thing to blend with what was presented, particularly because of the church next door. When we made the initial decisions on color, a lot of them were made because we had all the materials in front of us. We had the brick, we had everything, the canopy colors all in front of us at the same time. So we were able to make a judgment about what really was best, considering what they were asking. What I would suggest is that if the chairperson appoint a group, which is what we did with the original approval, go on site and look at it and have that subcommittee authorized to make a decision on the colors. Because you
I
have
thought
to.
we requested that last time. We requested that we go on site. We said it's really hard to, maybe it wasn't as strong as a request.
Right.
I thought it was, that
Right.
it's very hard to tell unless you're there.
I think you have to look at the full picture.
Yeah.
The question is, how do we handle it? I think you have to be on site and look at it to make sure that the color of the brick, everything that's associated with it, that the canopy is compatible with what we're trying to achieve.
And that was brought up at the last meeting. Carol and I talked before this meeting got scheduled and thought it best to at least get some samples in front of us that we could talk about it. Maybe we pick 3 samples, 3 options.
But you can't really see it unless you're there.
Oh, I don't disagree, but rather
And I
than
think we were
have,
pretty clear that we wanted something like this
Right.
that fits in.
Well, I
And we
agree.
keep getting back yellows, reds. I think we've been clear.
Mr. Chair, I can just say that the motion was to have a board meeting out on site. So that would mean everything you see in here would be out on the site,
Oh,
open
fun.
to the public, and, and
We get our carte blanche.
generally, what has worked is for things like where you get into details of design and all that,
Right.
is that the board, chooses a couple of representatives and makes a motion, say, okay, we'll go with whatever the representatives decide on another meeting that suits the applicant's time, and so it gives a little bit more flexibility than to just say, let's meet on site, when it's not really a practical public town meeting to have on site for this, just for future practicality, logistics, legal issues.
I got it.
So,
Well, I hope you'll do that, have some of us go out and look and be there.
yeah, well, I mean, the board has the.
We have to say we want to do that?
Yes.
Okay, I say that.
Well,
Make a
talk to the
motion.
chair.
I move. We go out and look, which is what we need
But
to
it
do.
can't be a quorum, it has to be.
How many do we have to have?
You have to be less than the majority.
Whatever you say we need.
Right.
I could appoint
You can do it, yeah.
to go on out there.
I'm happy to go out there.
We're not gonna point you. And I could point something less than a car to go out there.
Okay.
Who's ever interested in doing
I
it.
think that's what you're saying, Jim, right?
You have to look at it in total. You can't look at it incrementally. Too much work going in it to make sure that this was an attractive building coming in from the south side of town. And you need to look at it as it relates to the brick, the county, and how it plays plans, right?
And so then, do we need to make I haven't been appointed yet, but does that committee need to make a recommendation to the board? Is that how that would legally work, or?
Yes.
Yeah?
And then bring it back to another meeting, is that what you're getting at?
Not trying to
Well,
dictate how you can do it.
Can that committee select and just go back and advise?
That's what the board,
If that's part of the motion, if the motion is made to have, that the committee make that decision, then I think it's a valid thing for the committee to decide. But you have to appoint the committee that's going to make that call.
Now, do we want to look at any of these color options tonight before that committee is appointed?
I think it's best to look at everything on site.
So bring all this back to the site with the committee.
Right, and the committee will look at it and basically will approve it on site, based on, I guess, approval of this body, Joe.
So I just want to add to the fact that we were fully prepared to meet you guys on site with paint, like we were going to buy paint samples so that way we could paint certain areas of the building that you guys approved, so you guys could see the different colors actually, you know, in real life.
Sure.
And so I was working with Kirk to try to set that up, but he said that you guys didn't want to do that. So that's kind of why I put these color swatches together and then these different renderings to try and best show you what we're trying to request, because it was decided that we weren't going to do an on-site meeting. So I'm just trying to figure out a best way to, like, I guess, get this
Let me ask
moving
a question.
again.
In this packet are probably 4 or 5 blues, different blues.
So for the
A couple
signage,
whites, a tan,
Yeah.
some grays. Do we want to take, for instance, the blues, if there's 4 or 5 or 6, whatever it is, do we want to take these, all these samples, back out at this size?
Whatever they,
You know, not a big panel of it, a swatch of it, and pick it out that way?
whatever they, we had to need to go to the site with. If you recall, Paul, when we approved them, the committee appointed you and I and Ralph to make those decisions on site, and we met on site with the construction people and the owner to make sure that the colors all were compatible. And that was how we handled the original colors.
That's correct. That's
For
correct.
the Frank's Car Wash.
That's correct.
And now when you're looking at everything at one time, you're looking at the brick, you're looking at all the entire structure, the metal roofing, the canopy. And the intent was to tone it down so that it was compatible.
And what I'm not certain of, and I'm trying to get clarified for my own use, if nothing else, is when we go back out there, when the committee goes back out there to look at colors in general, that we're looking at swatches,
Right.
as opposed to a panel or whatever.
Mr. Chairman, I don't want to put the applicant to any additional trouble, but I think that it would be much better if you had larger pieces. of
That's what
material.
I'm getting at.
I think walking around with this,
Can't tell anything.
I think you need some pieces that you can go up and actually set the piece against the piece. So, and I know it's a little effort, but I would recommend whoever's going to make the visit, we need some larger samples. This would not be.
I agree with that. Along with that, do we need to try to get some indication of what colors we want to see blown up, as opposed to all these colors?
Well, if you look at what they propose, a lot of it has to do with black, and I think the black on the canopy at the top is much more compatible with structure than the blue is. The blue stands out like a light bulb.
Yeah.
Where black is more, it tends to be more subtle and more blendable with the current structure.
Is this a national brand, a patented brand? How much
This one.
leeway is the brand?
This is too, I think this is too bright for what we're trying to.
Well, what I'm saying is, there's
I
4 or
don't
5
understand your
blues.
All right, let's, we can't have side conversations, if you just talk through the chair, so it's all recorded, please.
Okay, is this, I guess I wasn't here for the last meeting. So is this like a national brand? How much leeway do they have for changing colors? Like, McDonald's is always the same color, Subway's always the same color. What kind of leeway do they have, or is this a small independent?
We are a national brand, yes ma'am.
So how much leeway do you have for changing colors?
I mean, if I get my legal team involved, probably a lot, but I don't really want to do that. I'd like to settle it here,
Right,
because bringing in legal will get messy, so.
yeah.
I think we really appreciate that you have a brand, but we also, you need to appreciate that we've tried to make this fit in with the church.
Oh, no, I totally appreciate
Yeah,
that.
so
I
that's
went-
what we're trying to do.
Right, and I totally
What
understand.
you all picked out was great, and I don't think we need to change it, really.
What concerns me, Jim, is that what I took exception to at the first meeting was the blue, in particular, it was the blue. And I think it came back with several shades of different blues that I think something will work, or could work. But I don't know if, and I agree with larger samples if we're gonna go to site and do this.
And I'm fine
But I
with
feel like we ought to give, I'm trying to see if we can narrow it down to these 3, we don't
Yeah.
want to look at these
Right.
3, these 3 blues, maybe, there may be something there that we're interested in looking at. The tan that you brought, maybe that's fine, the whites, but the blue in particular, you put a lot of work into that. And I'm just trying to get a feel from our board, what blues we're interested in and what we're not. I know the brighter blues, we're probably going to have a little trouble with that. The darker blues is where personally, where I was looking at. But to try to get this to a committee on site, which I think is a good idea. I think if we're going to use larger samples, we ought to try to at least try to narrow it down.
So I just have a question. Why, whenever I tried to set that up with the city, did it not work out to set that up? Because it's not, because I went through countless of hours of trying to put something together that would make sure every comment that was stated last meeting, I literally listened to that meeting like 3 or 4 times over and made comments on everything. So that way we could give you guys something to look at that hit every single one of those comments. So we're not just coming back and saying, well, we want our brand, get over it. Like, I'm willing to work, I'm just trying to figure out, like, why wasn't that set up from whenever I requested it to be set up?
Because we didn't know what was going to come back until our agenda came out and had the colors in it, like what's up on the screen.
Okay,
And what I didn't want to do is go to the site, either with our whole group or with a few committee members, and have oodles of paint chips or paint swats. I agree with going to the site with a small committee with larger samples. If we could try to narrow down some of what we're talking about. Some of these blues aren't gonna be approved. If a blue does get approved, I know some of these are gonna be a little troublesome.
so can I ask that we review these packages and then we approve something based on a on-site meeting
I would like
for
to
final
at least,
approval?
I would like to at least go through the options, just to get everybody's general consensus,
Okay,
to give you an idea of what larger samples to bring to the site. I think the site meeting is called for.
okay,
I wasn't ready for it tonight until we talked about samples. In my mind, we gotta give some kind of direction or some kind of indication where we're looking. When we said gray the last time, or tan, there's a lot of grays, there's a lot of tans.
right,
I think what you've selected, as far as I'm concerned, is enough variance with some of these colors. The blues in particular, but there's several shades of blue I don't think we'd
Yeah,
be
yeah, and-
interested in. If we could go through the options at least, and give you some indication to where you can come back with larger samples, that sounds to me, and I'll open it up to the board, that sounds to me like a better way Well, these colors, like to me, are fairly, are good. I don't think there are any objections to these. I agree. This is what the problem is coming.
I wouldn't go with any of the blues.
There's some of that, and there's also some individual signage issues I want to talk about today.
Mr. Chairman, just so the board understands, it appears that option 1 is the only one that has blue in it. And if you turn back towards the back, there are 3 options of blue, but blue is not in anything other than option 1. If you look, am I correct in that?
Yep, you're correct, yep.
Yeah, so the options of blues only affect option 1. Everything else is not blue.
Well, it also appears in the sign.
Yes, I'm sure
Sign options.
there is an option on the side.
So I'm actually with a sign company to be here. I didn't know, could I speak to you or?
Sure.
Where's that?
I got it.
I think we should see what.
The paint swatches?
No, no. The one you put together.
Yeah, just
Okay, we can work with it.
so one
Before we
size,
go
one
any
paint.
further, can you two introduce yourselves? I didn't catch your names, I'm sorry.
Jessica Steele, I represent Take 5 Car Wash.
I'm Jeremy Inman with Concept Unlimited.
Great.
We're a national sign company, but I also live in Blythewood. So,
Great, well, welcome.
so I did have a question. So I know about the package with the actual canopies and such being painted, but were you guys actually wanting her to change their blue on the sign? Like on the monument sign and?
Yes.
The bucket sign, is that
Right.
when you say monument sign, does that mean the bucket?
Yeah, like the blue there.
Okay.
And then there's a bucket that was gonna go on the wall.
Right.
So,
Both of those. I'll speak for myself. When I referred to that at the first meeting, that's what I was.
right, yeah, which I wasn't at the first meeting, but I did watch the thing. So just from living in Blythewood, I mean, there's other signs that have blues, like Zaxby's blue that's on their sign is extremely similar to this blue that's gonna be on their signs. And also, you know, like Taco Bell, the new Taco Bell, it has a bright purple color. So I didn't know why you would want them to change their actual signage of like a trademark signage that's been approved.
There is a part of our ordinance that talks about bright colors that Carol sent out with our meeting packet. It's pretty much a case-by-case basis. I wouldn't say, and I could be wrong, I'd like to go by and look at Zaxby's sign now that you brought that up.
Right.
The blue in your Take 5 caught my eye over on Clemson Road at there's an oil, I guess it's an oil change
Right.
place. That's what caught my eye, and I went back and looked at it. To me, that's different than any blue we've got in Blythewood right now. Now, you're a sign guy, you know colors probably better than I do. I may be wrong, but I didn't take that to be the same or near to the same.
Right. So blue sign color for across the country, like blue, you know, there's 100 blues.
Right.
But I understand that one of them maybe not to paint the canopy and the structure that bright blue. But that's what I was trying to find out. So you guys are wanting them to change their actual trademark color that's in their logo, like a national company. So that would be the same thing if like you asked Home Depot to change their orange when they come to Blythewood.
I agree.
You know, I understand not painting the canopy, but it seems kind of, I've done a lot of these architectural review boards. I've never heard of anybody asking a company to like change their actual trademark color before.
That's what we're asking.
Well, it's the first for everything, isn't it?
That's what we're asking.
I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure you can
We
do that.
spent a lot of time, we had no idea the car wash was going to be sold. Had we known that, it would, I don't know if it would have made any difference at the time, but we spent, as Jim said, to start with, we spent a considerable amount of time trying to get the colors
Right.
to work, and I thought it turned out well. And then we come to find out it was sold, and now we got a sign that's got a blue bucket on it.
Right.
That,
Well, I think too, if you talk about just blue on the sign is one thing, but if you talk about blue on the building and everything else, then that's another. I can understand.
So for instance, like the Taco Bell that just moved in, they have a bright purple color. I think anybody would say that's just as bright as this blue. So why would you allow Taco Bell to not change their purple? You know what I mean?
Well, on option 4, I'm looking at, maybe this is just because of the printing. It looks different to me, it's more compatible.
Signage that-
Do you know which blue that, of the samples?
What is the blue on the bucket?
What is the blue on the
it this
bucket?
blue?
So it's Pantone 2191 is, so, I don't know if you guys have the packet, but it's option 1 for the monument sign. They don't, so it's not a Sherwin-Williams color, and you can't get Pantone colors in swatches, you have to order them, and I just didn't have enough time to do that. So that blue is not represented in any swatches that you guys have, it's just represented in our rendering.
So what you showing then, on option 4 of the sign, that is a different blue than this.
Yes, sir, so option 4 is the one that's in that pamphlet that's marked with an X,
That's you?
yeah, see it, the Zuri tide, that's that blue.
That to me is a lot more.
Yeah, so that's our, right, so that's alternative 1 blue, and then we have an alternative 2 blue, which
show me
is
the
the
one you're
Zuri
looking
tide.
at, Jim. Is that the signage?
Option 4, I guess.
Okay,
And it's this,
The blue that she's saying is closer to this.
I agree.
that is
And
this
you
one.
have-
That's you.
Look at the photo.
No, it's-
That's right. You're looking at the signage.
I mean, she doesn't have it.
If you look at that.
But she said that's
compared to
close.
this,
That's right.
Two different.
That's right, I agree.
And this, to me, is not.
The darker one looks better than the brighter one.
I didn't get that packet, no, they only have 3, so I've not seen the package. This is, I mean, they're saying, because it's in there.
You're showing number 6252.
They're saying this is the
Option
option.
4.
This is the.
That's what you're saying.
So, yeah, that's,
It's more.
so this represents paint, not signage, so signage is all the first part, and then paint is the second part.
How would the board identify?
Say there's another rendering.
So, if you go to, okay, so see those are all, the scope of works are all the paints. So if you,
That's it.
no, if you go, the signage should be the very, like, first part of it.
First.
I think it was a whole nother.
You can tell by the way it's titled at the bottom, illuminated channel letter set for entrance
Okay, I'm sorry, maybe,
is where it shows up.
This is the first page.
yeah, I'm sorry, maybe it's vice versa. So it'll be,
Let's see where you're going.
let's see. So try like page like, I don't know,
It's right after option
40,
5.
see where that
Right.
puts you?
Page 30 here.
Yeah,
Goes
down.
There you go. That's it.
That's it.
yeah. So if you go back up,
Now, if you go to the option 4 of that section, that's the blue we're talking about.
Am I going backwards?
no, you're gonna go, keep going down.
Yeah.
So, sorry, like,
No,
Go over to the.
you're going. Yeah,
That Pantone.
okay, so this is the first option for signage, which is the normal blue.
Right.
If you'll go to the next page, this is option 1 for the monument sign, which is that road sign, you'll see that as a rendering. Next slide, please.
So do we have an option on either Frank's car, well, it's not Frank's anymore, right? Is that correct?
Correct.
So, because we expressed that we didn't like this car wash with 5.
Right, yeah, so,
So we can have a car wash,
I'm sorry, can you go back up, please? So option 2 is a different blue, so instead
I'm
of,
not talking about blue, I'm talking about car wash and then 5. Is that your brand of a sign?
Yes, that's
yeah,
their branding.
yeah, mhm.
So that but she's got another couple.
Yeah, so if you'll let me get through the options, you'll see
Yeah,
that,
I'm trying, there's so many different options, we're talking about so many different things.
trying to make sure that you
Just
guys
trying
were.
to get it straight, okay? I'm
I'm
trying to
sorry?
follow you. So keep going.
Okay, so option 2 is gonna be the dynamic blue that you guys have in your swatch. So here's a rendering of that. Next page. So this is the, what you requested, the letters in black and white.
So there's no bucket.
There's no bucket, the bucket goes
So that is an
away.
option.
So we did hear you last meeting on just wording, so that's that option for option 3. So I promise you guys, I did not listen to the meeting and go, oh, this is all, BS. I actually sat there and took notes and made sure we can put together options that not only my marketing team approved, but would work for what y'all's comments were. So I promise you a lot of care went into this.
And it was obvious when I went through it that you took the time to pick out some blues that were a little bit more subtle. And option 4 that you're referring to is after, it should be the next slide.
Yep, so if you go down, so that's a rendering of it. Next slide, please. So this is option 4, which is the Azuri Tide, which is not in your swatches, it's in that pamphlet marked with an X.
The dark ones.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's a darker blue.
Correct. And the darker blues, in my opinion,
I like
look a
the
little
darker.
bit better.
With a gray blue, which is definitely better.
Can we decide, can we agree that, whatever that, would we say that blue was Tide blue?
Azuri Tide, yep.
Missouri Tide? Can we say that that's a blue we'd be interested in seeing a larger panel
Well,
of?
and looking at this, I think it's almost an improvement over Frank's colorway. If you look at the 2 different signs, that's a step in the right direction.
And the only question I had, if the blue's acceptable,
Right.
was the freight color.
Right.
There's a black, there's a tan.
Yeah, so that we'll talk about in the paint portion of it, yeah. So I separated the rendering so that way it would be less confusing for you guys, because I know, like you guys talked about the blue, but I had to call Kirk and ask, are we talking about the signage blue or the paint blue? So it's broken up into 2 different packages.
If we could, if you could start us at the front of this document and quickly go through, and let us see how you've got it organized.
Yeah, of course.
And give you a thumbs up on, yeah, you're on the right track with these colors, or no, we're not interested in that.
Okay, yeah,
And there's some other comments mixed along that we'll talk about as we go.
okay, perfect. So if you'll go to the very, yep, so if you go to slide 2. Okay, so this slide just breaks down the different, so we have 5 paint options for you guys that we're gonna show you. So the first one is gonna be the muted scheme, which includes that tricorn black, the Azuri Tide blue, and then the web gray. And you can see those color swatches as well as the color swatches you guys have in your hands. The second scheme is our neutral scheme, so it includes the black, which is that tricorn black, the web gray, and then ice cube white. And then we have a white and tan combination, a all white scheme, and then a all tan scheme. So you'll see those represented in option 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Let me ask you a question before you go any further. In the case of the awnings, the roof panels, I don't know if there's any others, and I guess,
The roof lining.
what materials or what pieces actually get replaced with a different color material? For instance, the roof
Right,
caps
yep,
over top of cupolas.
Yep.
Does the color that's on there now, the red, come off and blue goes on, a blue panel, or are you painting that red
Painted.
panel blue?
Yep, everything would be painted.
Okay.
Yep.
Can you describe that process and how that's going to work?
Yeah.
I've never painted
Yeah, no, that's a totally valid question.
a pre-finished roof before.
Yeah, so typically what we do is we'll have the guys, so I'll have my painter contractor who was here last meeting. He'll go on site and pressure wash the whole site so that way it looks pristine, the brick looks clean, all that. And then in part of pressure washing, they'll also primer the existing, anything we're going to paint a different color. And then they'll do a white top or a white primer coat, so that way they might do a couple coats of that since that red is so bright. And so once they have that done and it's dried, they'll go back with whatever approved color. That's for the canopy, that's for the canopy legs, the tower caps, the garage doors, the garage bay doors and the man doors, as well as we're not painting the roof at all. But for those tower cap roofs that you're talking about, that would be the
How
process.
about the awnings themselves? They get painted as
Yes,
well?
yes, sir, sorry.
You see, it? You have any questions relative to that
I
process?
think that the board should know the spec from Sherwin-Williams, their procedure, because there may be a requirement to acid etch. You're looking for longevity. The concern is that paint in 5 years begins to peel off, flake off. So I think if the applicant could provide for review by the town, the paint spec, the prep and everything else, then I think you all would be satisfied with that. And I'm sure the painter could do that. It would be a Sherwin-Williams spec, right out of their textbook. This is how you paint pre-finished metal.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think that's probably what.
That's what I was getting at.
Yes. And I think that should be part of the documentation, so that the town has confidence that that paint is going to be there for quite some time.
Would your expectation be with a Sherwin-Williams or any other leading manufacturer's paint spec, would you expect that to address chalking and that sort of thing? Okay.
So, we actually just started a contract with Sherwin-Williams, so I can definitely get that for you. However, I can also tell you that we do have a facilities team who is on top of it. And the second they notice it's scraping, it's, I don't know how bad y'all get hurricanes, but any kind of damage like that, it'll be brought to our attention and we'll get it fixed up. So I guarantee you, site maintenance is
The
pretty high on our
concern-
list.
The concern that the board would have, is suppose 5 years from now, you all sell it to another, is it got the longevity long-term, if you all are out of the picture. And I
Okay.
appreciate the fact that you got that kind of team working on your projects, but they're looking for lifelong, for longevity, long-term. So Sherwin-Williams will be able to address all the details and be able to guarantee that finish for X number of years.
Okay.
So-
Yep.
Great, if you could continue.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so, option one, sorry, if you'll go to the next slide. So option one paint scheme is a combination of the black, blue, and gray. The monument signage will be painted, black, and I'm just gonna go through this real quick, and then we'll actually see it rendered. So the monument signage cabinet will be painted black, the building, the tower caps, the awnings, the roof trim, and then the main doors, and then the garage bay doors will be painted blue. And then the vacuum canopy and the pay station canopy, the canopy and the legs or posts, whatever you want to call them, will be painted gray. So if you'll go through the next couple of slides slowly, you'll see that. So there's the monument. And there's the building. That'll show that, just a little bit of the roof tower caps, and then the roof lining, and then the doors. You can't see the roll down doors because obviously the car wash is operating. But those will be painted whatever color as well. So this shows the vacuum canopy, gray.
Carol, can you go back a slide? That blue trim that it shows just below the roof line, I'm assuming that's all the way around the building? Whether it's blue or tan or whatever, is that?
It is not all around the building.
It's
Nope,
just
it's
that
just
area?
that little area.
Okay.
Yep. And that little area, that roof lining is very on brand for us to paint that blue. So then the next, sorry, yep. So the next slide shows the tower caps and then the awnings on the side of the building being painted blue, and then the vacuum canopy, as well as the posts being painted gray. Next
Excuse
slide.
me. What do you mean by tower caps? What part do you?
But the little,
Cupola.
yeah, that little,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Oh,
no, you're good. So if you'll go to the,
I'm
if
sorry.
you, no, you're good. If you'll go to the next slide, you can actually see it a lot better.
Sure.
See,
Yep. I'm-
tower caps,
I'm with you.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
I didn't know what their technical name was, so that's the best I could come up with.
Yes, thank you.
So this option, I'm sorry, not this option, this slide shows, the pay station canopy being painted gray as well as the post.
Okay, so to go back to your comment, when you're staring into the drive-through, you asked about that blue. If you look on that picture out there, it's three-sided. That's what you were asking. All of that open area has.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
tan, assuming that tan
Right.
is.
Kind of like a fascia board?
Yeah, it's like a fascia, so it's three-sided. Okay, so it's three-sided fascia in that drive-in area.
Okay.
Any more questions about option one?
just to understand your logic in what's colored, and maybe it's nitpicking. You got a gray canopy, but yet the fascia board, if you want to call it that, changed to tan. In some of these schemes, it's one color on the entrance and another color along the edges. In other words, that's a three-sided fascia board.
Yeah, so probably.
Was that just a slip of the?
Honestly, yeah, it was just an oversight that the sides, technically, all of that should have been blue, but we were wanting to show you on that entrance elevation that's painted blue, so that way, you know, it's understood that we're painting that certain color. So, just an oversight.
That's fine, I just want to make sure it's looked at right.
Okay, you go to the next slide. So option 2, we'll go over, this is our neutral scheme, so this is going to be black, white, and that web gray. So we will have the monument signage cabinet being painted black, the building tower caps, the awnings, the roof trim, and then the man doors and the garage bay doors will all be painted white. The vacuum canopy and pay station canopy, as well as the post or legs, will be painted gray.
I have a question here, excuse me. On this color scheme, you have 3, the tricorn black, ice cube, and red gray. So what color would the bucket be? Azure blue?
So we're not talking about signage right now, we're just talking about paint.
Road signage?
Right, so we're not talking about the signage piece, we're just talking about paint. So I wanted to separate those two.
Okay, but in all of the color schemes, just so that I am clear on this, in all of the color schemes, the bucket is the national brand, so it will be blue of some kind. Is that?
If you guys decide that that's what you guys want to approve, yes.
With the wording, but if you have the bucket, does it have to be a shade of blue, your national brand?
We would like it to, yes, but like I said, we're willing to work with you guys. Okay, so if you'll go to the next slide. All right, so the first slide shows the monument cabinet being painted black. Next slide, please. This slide shows that entrance car wash elevation, which shows the roof cap, that trim piece, which will go all the way around. The man doors being painted white. Next slide. This slide shows the roof caps and then the awnings being painted white, and then the canopy for the vacuums and the posts being painted gray. Next slide. And then this slide also shows the pay station being painted gray and the posts as well. Any questions on this option?
I think you did.
Okay, cool. So next slide, please. So option 3 is the white and tan combo that was requested. So this shows the monument cabinet being painted tan. Pretty much everything on the building, the tower caps, the awnings, the roof trim, the man doors and the garage bay doors being painted white, the vacuum canopy, and then the legs are going to be painted tan, and then that goes for the pay station as well. The canopy and the legs will be painted tan. So if you'll go to the next slide, it'll show the monument cabinet being painted tan, and we actually went to the site and color matched. What did you color match? You color matched the canopy, right?
Yeah.
So we color matched the canopy posts, which are already this tan color, so that way we could keep that same consistent tan color since it was already approved once. Just a little bit of information. Next slide, please. This is the car wash entrance elevation, shows the tower caps and the roof lining, the doors, the garage bay doors being painted white. Next slide, please. This next slide shows the vacuum canopies being painted tan as well as the posts, which again, they're already that color. And this also shows the window awnings and then the tower caps being painted white. And then the next slide. This shows the pay station canopy painted tan and then the posts being painted tan.
Excuse me, could I ask a question?
Yeah.
And I know you may just be using the term generically, but when you say that the canopies are already tan, but you're going to paint them tan again,
So
are you matching the existing tan that's up there? It's a change of color.
No, it's the exact same tan. So the tan that you guys have approved on this, so Jeremy actually went to the site and color matched the canopy post, and that's that Tony taupe that you guys have, that's the exact same tan that we're requesting.
Are you suggesting that you're going to paint tan over tan?
So we would just repaint them because they might have
Why would you paint it
That,
all?
that top of that canopy right now is black and a tan.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, it's like a two-color. It's a
That's
two-color.
right. I'm sorry, I do remember that now.
Sorry, I misunderstood what you were
Not
saying.
what you call it, yeah. Okay.
Okay, any questions for option 3? Okay, next slide, please. So option 4 is pretty much everything being painted white. So the signage cabinet will be painted white, the tower caps, the roof trim, the awnings, the garage bay doors, the man doors, the canopy, posts, and legs for the vacuum and pay station canopies, all being painted white. So you'll see that throughout the next couple of slides. So there's the monument, car wash entrance, vacuum canopy, pay station canopy, and then finally option 5 is this exact is everything being painted tan. So same thing again, your signage cabinet, your tower caps, your awnings, your roof trim, your man doors, your garage bay doors, and then both of the canopies and canopy posts for vacuum and pay station canopies. And you'll see that through the next couple of slides. So there's the monument, car wash entrance elevation, the vacuum canopy, and then the pay station canopy. So those are all the options presented for the paint layouts.
All right, let me ask, you got a question?
I do, and this is just, again, it's for the painting prep. So that can, and I forgot, so it was pre-finished aluminum or pre-finished metal, and then it's been painted over with several coats. When you've done this before, do those coats that are there, the other colors, do they read through the paint because of the layers being thicker, or is that something you can address? If you know what I'm saying, you can go up and you can see in the daylight, you see stripes. It's all the same color, but you see those stripes. Have you done this before? Is that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Where it doesn't read through?
Yeah, so Frank's Normal is that red and white. And so we've already rebranded several Frank's Car Wash within this market. And typically what we do is if we can't hide that with just a couple of coats of paint, then what we'll do is we'll actually sandblast it, which will pretty much kind of rough it up to where we can refinish it with new paint. So it'll look really smooth and nice.
Good.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, before we go any further, are there any other colors that we want to have brought to the site to look at, or just the colors that we've reviewed here? Is that acceptable, or do we want a different range, a different color?
I'm good with these four colors, with a correct blue.
Okay, all right. So what I think I'm hearing is what you presented in those 5 options, if we could have larger samples of those brought to the site.
So how would you want that? Do you just want, like, honestly, really all I can think about is larger samples without painting the actual site, is just to bring, like, get little quarts of paint. Is that what you guys want?
We want something big enough that you could buy a sheet of paper.
Yeah, about that size, so that they could actually go hold materials around the brick instead of walking around with something like that.
Okay, yeah. So I think Sherwin-Williams does like sticker swatches, and I'll just order some of those.
Okay.
Will that work?
Sure, and obviously don't want them to stick on the building, but if you could have, if it's a sticker, if you could paste it on a piece of cardboard or something.
I'll just bring the sticker with the backing still on it.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
If it's about that size.
I think it's 4x6, so it's not quite that size, but I don't know if we can get any bigger without actually, like, taking a piece of cardboard and painting it, but it's not going to be the same finish because it's cardboard versus metal, you know?
But it's a sticker. I mean, it's got an adhesive back to it.
Yeah, yep, but it's only 4x6, I believe.
I think there's a way to put 2 of those side by side. We don't care about the seam, provided we get it somewhat close. But you're looking at a large sample, what we're trying to get to.
You're a genius, yep.
The only other thing, Paul, I think I'd like to see is be the correct gloss level. Because it's a big difference, and, you know, appearance based on the gloss.
Is the question is, the finish, is it a matte finish? Is it a semi-gloss finish or a high gloss finish?
So we typically do a high gloss finish on anything metal, and then whenever we paint the buildings, we usually do a matte finish. But we're not painting the building here, so.
Okay. Yeah, you know, I said cardboard, but there's some cardboard material that your painter could actually probably paint some 8.5 by 11s or 8 by 8s or something like that, with like the high gloss look.
Mm-hmm.
I think that probably is what the board would like to see. Something that represents what they're going to see on that building would be extremely helpful at this point.
Okay, so just to understand, you guys want some kind of material that's about the size of paper, with the actual finish that will be done, and we'll also bring those little quarts to the site for the material, whatever site visit, whatever you want to call it. And then we'll also have, so you want that in the Azuri Tide blue, the black, the tan, the white, and the gray, correct? So we're completely detailing the dynamic blue. Okay. Or well, sorry, the dynamic blue has nothing to do with paint. So pretty much you want all the paint options brought to site, correct?
I
Okay.
believe so.
Okay.
5 colors, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
The 5 colors. That means,
So the 5 colors, so that blue that we're doing for the painting, yes, ma'am. So that dynamic blue swatch that you guys have is totally unrelated to painting, it's only for signage.
Can you, just so Jim can follow along with what he's got, can you state the colors for the 5?
Yeah, of course, yep. So it's trichrome black, Azuri Tide, which is in that packet that you guys have, the pamphlet. Oh, okay, gotcha. The red gray, Ice Cube, and then Tony Toe. Yep.
You got the blue already.
What is the actual color of the blue?
The blue is in
As
there.
you was fine. It's blue.
What's the name of the blue?
Azuri Tide.
What now?
Azuri Tide. It's spelled A-Z-U-R-E.
And it's in the pamphlet?
Yes,
It's
sir.
right here.
Yeah, it's marked with an X,
Okay, I see it.
unless it's smeared off.
There you go. All right, anybody got any other questions relative to the paint side of the submittal? Okay, if you could go forward with the signage.
Okay, so we have 4 signage options we're going to show you today. The first is our brand standard with that normal Pantone 2191 blue that you'll see on the first swatch. Again, I wasn't able to provide an actual swatch of that because they don't sell swatches of that. So the second option is going to be the muted brand. This is going to be, any of the buckets are going to be the dynamic blue. That is the actual blue swatch you guys have, not the pamphlet blue. And then the third option is going to be a white and black option. So everything will be white and black. There's no blue, no yellow, no any other color like that. And then the third option is our second alternative blue, which is anything in the bucket colors. They're going to be that Azuri Tide, which is what you guys have in that pamphlet. So this is the monument replacement face. So this is option 1. Again, is the that Pantone color. This is our normal brand standard color. If you go to the next slide, you'll see it on a rendering. If you go to the next slide, you'll see option 2, which is the bucket in the dynamic blue, which is the actual swatch that you guys have, not the pamphlet. If you go to the next slide, you'll see that rendered. Option 3 is the black and white letters only option that you guys requested. And then you'll see that next slide, you'll see that rendered there. And then the fourth and final option for the monument signage is the second alternative blue, which is the Azuri Tide, which is in that pamphlet. And then if you go to the next slide, you'll see that rendered as well. Any questions on the monument before we move to the building signage? Okay.
And in each one of these for the board, so she went through this earlier, but just so you all know, the perimeter of the sign, the box, in other words, is going to be it'll be color matched with the building colors.
Yes, sir.
So every one of these, just keep in mind that the box, the actual physical box the sign's in, will change based on the building selections that you make. So that one up there is black, am I correct? Is that what?
No, it's, so,
What you're talking about?
we actually removed any paint rendering on these renderings, so that way there was no confusion. So what you guys are seeing is only signage.
Okay.
Yep.
And that is option 5, this one that's up on the screen now, what option is that?
Option 4. Yep.
Is there any lighting for the signs?
This,
It's internally illuminated
Yeah.
LEDs. Just the face.
and of course, if there's any issues with the signage, I don't think that there's going to be, because since it was just brought out and, rebranded, obviously we would make sure that that's fixed whenever we install the faces. Are we good to move to building signage?
Sure.
Do you have a question?
Yeah. Okay, when y'all, whoever goes on site, will you make the decision on the signage? Or do we need to make a decision on the signage? And that would be taken care of. Or should you do that on site?
I will go ahead and specify that we're not going to be able to fabricate. Okay, gotcha.
I think we can get a few questions out of the way tonight. And let's see where that conversation goes. I got a couple of questions I want to ask.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so if you go to the next slide, please. So option 1 shows the building signage that'll be on that car wash elevation entrance to the right side of that. This is the normal brand standard blue, which is that Pantone color. If you'll go to the next slide, you'll see that rendered. So that's what it'll look like when you enter the car wash. Option 2, next, yep. Perfect. This is the first alternative blue, which is that dynamic blue that you guys have in the swatch. If you'll go to the next slide, you'll see that rendered as well. Option 3, which is the next slide, this is it's just letters, and there'll just be white channel letters. And then if you go to the next slide, you'll see that rendered. So it gets rid of the bucket entirely, it's just channel letters. And then the next and final option for building signage is the second alternative blue, which is that Azuri tie, which is in your pamphlet, so all the buckets will be that color blue.
The question I have on the building signage,
Yep.
with the exception of the one that does not have the bucket, that cabinet, that signage cabinet, looks like it's about the size of a piece of plywood. A little bit taller, 4 feet by 7 feet.
So it's not a cabinet, it would be individual channel letters, just like you would see on most businesses.
Okay, so this detail does not apply.
Which one?
This right here.
No, that's it. So that's the channel letter. They would be 5 inches deep, and each one of the tape 5 letters is individually formed, so it has the same shape as you're seeing right there.
Okay. The question I've got, what does that door lead to? On the case where it's above the door,
I think it's their office.
Yep.
is there a sign there now?
No, sir.
Is a sign necessary?
It's not necessary, it's just, we're just trying
And
to.
I don't know what the rest of the board thinks. When I look at that, it just seems a little, to me, it just seems a little bit out of place. If there wasn't a sign already, I was just curious why.
So typically what we would do in this situation is we would actually put it on that roof line that you see in the tan. But knowing y'all's jurisdiction and reading your code, we decided that it was best to put it on the building. It's not mandatory by any
And
means.
that's fine, I'll let the board think about that. I just wanted to at least ask the question.
Great question.
But I mean, So it would be like any business not having a sign on your business.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
But your sign is at the monument, and you know where you're driving into.
well, you could say that
Most of the time, you're not gonna look at the sign anyway.
I mean, you could say that about any business. If you wanted to say that, you could say the same thing about Taco Bell, Zaxby's. You know, I mean, you gotta be fair with every business, you know, in a business.
No, I understand.
If other people are allowed to have the sign.
I'm glad you pointed out the construction of it, because I was looking at it being a box.
Right.
And it's not a box. But it's still a large sign, it was just
Right.
a personal.
It's actually really small, 20 square feet is an extremely small sign.
And that's within y'all's
That's
code.
what the city allows, Blythewood allows.
Understand.
But that's really small. Most places allow,
3-4 times that?
yeah, probably 1 square foot for every linear foot of a building. You know, so if this building's 30 foot, then you're allowed 10 more square feet usually.
Right.
At
I
least.
just wanted to bring it up, I just wanted the board to at least be aware of it.
Yeah, I'm just curious about, tell me again what you think the purpose is of that sign? Both of them.
I mean,
For
for
branding?
any business. I mean, you want people to know what your business is.
Yeah, I can tell you when I'm going through the car wash, that's distracting, because I'm paying attention, am I getting in the slot, everything right?
There's also signage on the pay kiosk too, if you pull in, there was sign above each one of the bays.
So
Yeah.
they've actually been removed. I instructed my ops team to not install signage because I knew that there was already a lot of tension with this. So I actually made sure this morning that everything has been removed. I told them not to install it, but they're a totally different team. They have their own say-so. It's nothing to do with building signage. So I'm on our DNC team and they're on our ops team, so two different bosses.
That's fine.
They didn't listen, so as soon as I was made aware of the signs were installed, I had them removed. So I do apologize for that, though.
Got my car wash there, so you can tell that.
I'm sorry.
I got my car wash, so.
I'm glad you guys at least like it.
Okay, you want to talk about the directional sign?
Yeah. All right, so the first one is our interdirectional. So option 1 shows it the normal brand standard blue, which is that Pantone color. You'll see it rendered of where it'll be placed on the property. In this slide, the next slide is the interdirectional in that alternative blue color, which is the dynamic blue, which is the one you have on your swatch. If we go to the next slide, that shows it rendered of where it would be installed at on the property. Next slide is that black and white that you guys requested. And then the next slide shows it where it would be on the property. And then option 4 shows the second alternative blue, which is the Azuri tag, which is in that pamphlet that you guys have. And then the next slide shows where it would be located on the property. Next slide. So these are the exit directionals, same exact option. So option 1 is our normal brand standard blue, which is that Pantone color. The next slide shows it rendered of where it would be placed on the property. Option 2, next slide, shows the alternative blue, the dynamic blue, which is what you guys have in your swatches. Next slide shows it rendered of where it would be installed on the property. This is the black and white version. The next slide shows of where it would be installed on the property. And then the final option for this is option 4, which is the second alternative blue, which is the Azuri tag, which is what is in y'all's pamphlet. And then that shows where it would be located on the property.
Carol, I think I've asked you this once before. Are directional sign required?
They're required. Not required.
I'm curious why we didn't ask or direct or do this with Freg's when we first went through this.
Honestly, I don't think signage was scrutinized as much.
Okay. Is the general feeling that we need directional signage? And I'm just asking for myself.
Well, this is a low profile, this option is a low profile sign there in size. What size is that? That's a,
Go back one slide. There we go.
And those are within y'all's code requirements, size-wise.
I just wanted to ask the question, that's all.
Well, I know last meeting it was brought up that you guys actually really did like the directionals.
I think there was, I think some of us did.
Yeah.
But some of us.
Some of us don't care for it.
I'm just bringing it up
Yeah,
to make sure
yeah.
everybody sees it,
Yeah,
that's all.
I agree.
Well, great. Well, do you have enough direction on what to bring of a larger size when we meet on site?
Do we know when that would be scheduled?
We don't. What I think I'd like to do following the meeting is find out who would like to be on that committee, pick a date, sooner's better as
Yeah.
far as I'm concerned. If Carol's got your contact information, we'll get word to Carol, and we'll just discuss it with Carol and let her get word.
And you're in Charlotte,
No, I'm actually out of Raleigh.
and Raleigh,
Yeah.
so it's got to travel.
A little bit of a
Quite
hike.
a haul. Yeah.
Can I ask a question? Could they not, or could you guys consider approving the actual signage before you, and the reason I ask, because obviously their company has bought this and they have no signage. You know, obviously we're changing out all these locations around Columbia, Lexington, Somerville. So this is gonna be the only location they don't have any signage saying Frank's. Could you consider approving the signage portion without painting the building? I didn't know if I thought Kirk was gonna be here tonight, but, I didn't know if that was an option so that they could actually get some signage on their building.
Can you pull up option 4 for those signage?
So it's all,
Which
it's,
sign?
No, on the monument side.
Minus.
Monument side, option 4.
Is that what that is?
Go back to page 42.
one more. One.
That's option 4.
That's the wall.
So
That's the wall
it's
sign.
based on like, so this is all the building signage is grouped together. So you'll want to go
back to
up
Page 40.
Go back.
pretty good a bit. Probably like 8 slides. Yeah, oh, go back. Down. Go down one more. Yeah, sorry, 2 more. There you go. Or do you want to see the rendering?
Show the rendering too.
Okay.
Yeah. This black at the top, which I guess would work with any color, I guess, if you chose. I don't have any issue with that one, personally.
And that's using the blue.
I thought we said that.
As you-
with it.
Yes, correct.
Right.
Mhm.
And
Correct.
would it be fair to say that the white is going to look more like the white on the actual sign here, that bright white?
Yeah.
That.
It's just acrylic.
Just so the board, that bright white is not going to be jumping out at you like big bright white, is it?
No, it's gonna be acrylic.
Like the white on the
Exactly.
backs, that toned down white, so this is a little bit misleading in that it's bright white, it looks so glaring at you.
It's impossible to make something look.
Sure, it is. So I just wanted the board to know that's not actually, the background will be the color of Frank's Car Wash over here. In other words, it'll be toned down a little bit, it'll be a little bit more subtle.
And that's black trim at the top.
Black, but that should be compatible with whatever else is chosen. Sure.
The trim is actually that tan color.
Say that again?
The trim is actually just, I know it looks different in the rendering that we have, but it's actually the same color that it is today.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
Because remember the paint and the signage is
Sign face
separate.
already
Yeah,
replaced.
correct.
Jim, do you want to make a motion for that to at least approve it?
I'll make the motion that we approve option 4 for the monument sign,
And what about for the other? Not the other sign.
not the other at this point, no. I guess that does lock us into that blue color though. If
It does.
it's used in the other place, it's gonna have to be that same blue. So we need to make sure that we correct.
If everybody's comfortable with that color.
Yeah, I like that color.
Has everybody got a chance to look at it, the color we're talking about?
Got it around. That's it, everybody wants to see it.
Is there-
We got it.
Got it.
Yeah.
Is there a second?
30 seconds.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So just confirm that is just a monument sign.
Just a monument sign.
What's your preference on meeting on the site
What do you mean?
in terms of the timeline?
I mean, honestly, whatever works for you. I do have a couple days off next month that are already scheduled, so I would have to work around that, but whatever works for y'all is fine with me.
Okay. We'll get something to you quickly.
Okay.
We'll let you know something. Any other questions relative to the car wash?
Well, are you going to make a motion to appoint the committee?
I wanted to discuss who wants to be on the committee after the meeting, and then I'll send you a note.
Okay. Just in terms of actually, the board essentially giving the authority. I'd like to have a motion that the board is authorizing the committee to make the decision for ultimately the certificate of appropriateness will be written out of whatever that committee decides.
Jim, could you make a motion out of that, please?
Yeah, I make the motion that the chairperson has authority to appoint a subcommittee to review and approve car wash.
Is there a second?
A second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We'll get that scheduled.
I do have a quick question. Is there any way that we could, I could just have my painter present those options for you guys? Just because it is, it's like a 5-hour drive for me, one way, so.
I think
the painter would probably suffice. He also would be
And
able
Lou
to
and
talk about
Jessica
composition.
driving all the way down here from Raleigh.
Right.
And the painter, their painter, the gentleman that was at the last
Yes, sir.
You just
Yep,
say the
Joe.
hotel and increase the hospitality.
I'll make sure you do that.
No offense, but my bed is a lot comfier than a hotel bed.
Where is he out of? Is he local?
Yep, he's out of Charlotte.
Okay,
Yep,
okay. Well, that would be acceptable.
okay, perfect. And I also have my site manager and regional manager on site too for any other questions.
Great,
So,
very good. Well, thank you for coming all the way down.
yeah, of course. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yes. Project manager. Get a lot, yeah. Yeah.
Sure, if you like.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Ma'am?
Got another case talking about then.
We have a lot of material.
Torture chamber.
I didn't mean to answer.
He's just propagating wisdom out there, that's all he's doing.
Have a great night.
Okay, you can take your seat.
No, you're good.
Carol, can you bring up the next item?
All right, so, next item is, a new construction at 400 Main Street, tax map number 15213-02-15. It's in the Town Center District and also the Architectural Overlay District. The applicant is Ken Queen, and he's here, and his architect as well. But you can see in the, in your packet that, the renderings that he submitted with his application. As y'all know, this is, located, everyone familiar with the location of this property? It's a vacant parcel between the, barbecue and the corner, there, the corner of Langford Road and Main Street. Yeah.
Is it two parcels? There's a line.
There's actually two parcels, but he owns both parcels, so I imagine he'll combine that. And yeah, so it's, and two buildings, essentially, but one development, essentially.
One of the questions I had to do with the roof line for buildings 1, 2, and 3. And not really the roof line, but the back elevation being open to the park.
And to the south too,
Yes.
to the north, I'm sorry, north end.
And I'd like to ask if it's possible to put a parapet along that edge, just to conceal. I don't know if there'll be any rooftop equipment, but from the view of the park, I think it would look better if it was closed in.
If y'all can, two y'all can come up here, and then the board can address your questions. And you can refer to the screen as well.
You want to stay in your seats?
I'll sit.
Okay. The actual rear of the building is not visible from the park. There's so much growth and stuff right behind there on the back side of the larger building. But there's, do understand that there's the possibility, I guess, during the winter season or something, there might be less vegetation. But right now, it's hard pressed to see the back of the depot with their, with their other things back there. The parapet wall was designed to obviously dress it up, pretty it up from the road. So, is that your thought?
Yeah, just like traditional single slope commercial structures. The HVAC equipment is going to be on the ground. It's not going to be on the roof. So, yeah, and I think we were thinking with that railroad right away and all the brush back there.
But that brush could go away tomorrow.
Yeah, we did put, we're thinking about possibly door or window on the back, but, yeah, I mean, and obviously the concern is just if we don't need to do the parapet because of water issues.
But there's ways to do that.
Well, yeah, we do scuppers and downspouts and things like that.
Right. I'm just looking at the overall aesthetics of the building. Personally, when I see the back end of a building that lacks a parapet, it just drives me nuts. That's just me.
Right.
You could go to Lowe's and look behind that big sign that says Lowe's on it. It drives me nuts, but that's the least expensive way to do it. It's just a pet peeve of mine. I'm just.
Well, if we're good with everything.
I'm only one vote.
Well, if we're good with everything else, then we'll put that parapet wall in this one.
And I'd like to hear from the rest of it.
I agree with you. In fact, you've got the side of the end of the building that's looking to the north side, the same thing as well. And basically back on the railroad track side, I think the parapet certainly is kept. On the standalone building, you probably have enough blockage. That's the one that's by Wilson Store. That's the only one you're not going to have not very visible. Very low. Because it's very, very close to the side.
And it's got a different roof line.
Huh?
It's got a different roof line.
Yes.
Yeah, it's,
I think the buildings look great. I think it's a nice mix, personally.
Are you okay with that at all times?
yeah, on the north side, I hate to stand it on the back.
I mean,
Yes, they just come.
okay.
Just come.
The roof of the building that's going to be on the right
It
side.
brings it up where it's same height all the way around.
Can you go back to the slide? There you go.
Oh,
That's it right there.
Well, that's a very historical.
That's the standard.
Very historical construction.
Can you detail a little bit about the brick, or buildings 1, 2, and 3? Is it just seems like I saw over here a red? I don't know what I saw there, but I can't find it. Here it is. Common red brick? Is it just a single color, or?
It's got a variation.
You got a
in it.
soldier down at the bottom?
It's a very, it should be on the slide. It's a variation in the brick. And it's an ivory, like an ivory mortar, not a gray mortar we're gonna put in there, so.
Will the board have an opportunity to see colors and materials on the brick and the metal?
We submitted that,
Oh, I'm
yeah.
sorry.
I submitted those,
I haven't seen them.
Oh, you haven't?
Has everybody seen these colors?
You're not putting it.
Oh, sorry about that.
The back side is what? The back of the building? Hardy?
It's hardy
This
side.
is the hardy side. Smooth or textured wood grain? Which way?
Probably smooth.
Smooth.
Yeah, I would do smooth, yeah. You know, and I mean, even this, I would say, is, I wouldn't trust that color. If you wanted to see a couple bricks mocked up, or we could actually get you, like when he,
You won't have to.
basically what we're doing is proposing a red brick.
Yeah, I think the board's going to need to see actual samples.
Well, that's easy to do.
Yeah, I think we need to.
Is that something we could just submit to a member, or is it?
Sure, if you want to drop it off with Carol, just let us know, just let Carol know that it's there.
How would you approve that?
That's typically got to come back to the board, doesn't it?
Ultimately, it'll come back to us.
Come back to the board.
I mean, that's the kind of thing I gotta do.
The other thing I want to ask about too is the slab. Is the slab elevated at all? Typically what we've done too, we required a little bit of elevation from the front to bring it up off the ground so it doesn't look like it's a slab building.
You want to propose, is there a specified height for that? Because that includes ramps if we have to do it.
We've used what in the past.
Is that something,
12 to 16 inches. All the ground, step up.
is that specified somewhere?
Yeah,
I think it is in the ordinance.
It's in the
It would be, let me see, I'll get the language for you.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact dimension, but we've been looking at 16 inches.
That's the same thing we did with the town.
Yeah, it does create a step up, and sometimes some challenges on 88, but we work through.
Yeah, because would we do like 3 ramps? We're gonna have 3 ramps on that L-shaped building.
Couldn't have just, we have to have 3.
Well, you have to get access to it somehow. So it's like, so the slab has to be
Elevated.
that much above grade, not raised on a pad, but.
Yeah, it wants to look like it has a foundation below it, an exposed foundation rather than a graded up pad.
Okay, because okay. On the L-shaped building then, what we're faced with it is either 3, like, in order to get it looking like it's above grade, either 3 individual ramps, or you have to raise the whole sidewalk up, which kind of defeats the purpose of having the building look like it's above grade. But I kind of feel like 3 ramps on the front of the building would kind of junk it up. That makes sense, like if we do the sidewalk above grade in front of the entire building, it's gonna not look like it's above. Great.
Yeah.
I think you need to take a look at it, and it may be that from porch to porch, all of that's raised, as you said, elevated sidewalk, and then the sides and the remainder of that elevation are,
3 ramps.
no, I'm saying, if you raise, like you're asking, if you raise from porch to porch, all of that up, and then on the right and left-hand side of the 3-porch condition, then you're coming back down the grade. I haven't looked at your site plan very carefully, so, Carol, can you shoot the site plan back up? Oh, I'm sorry, I got it right here.
Yeah, because we're not going to want to do a ramp like at the end of that long sidewalk. You want to give them better access.
We have 3 doorways, you're gonna basically have a ramp. Doorway, doorway, doorway.
I guess so. And we can do that, just want to make sure it's all right to put 3 ramps on the front.
Because they
Because you need to give
protrude into the
you
parking.
need to give them access.
Right.
You don't want to do a ramp at the end of the 2 Ls because of the unit
No,
in the
but you
middle.
probably could relocate your handicap, your ADA space, and perhaps come in between the 2, and then ramp both ways up under the porches, you know what I'm saying?
I got you, yes.
Yeah, maybe come a common and then ramp up,
Yeah.
and then take the one on the right up there, it's got its own ramp.
I get it, yeah, that makes sense.
Carol, can you scroll that image up just a little bit so we can see, just scoot it up just a tad the other way? Matt, you and I didn't look at the site plan before very much. What are we doing? Are we that close on this bottom corner to the property line? Is on the, are we almost touching the property line right there in the center of the site?
Yeah, but I think we're fine with, there's no setback for railroads. So,
Okay, but if we're, from a grading standpoint, we're gonna be okay?
yes, yeah.
Okay. Same thing down on the right-hand side of that corner. Do we have a setback requirement on that right?
5 feet, 5 feet off the right-hand side or
Okay.
the north lot.
Okay. And you've got a landscape plan? Yes. I remember seeing that. Yeah.
Do we need to reflect these revisions before taking a vote on the CLA?
Have y'all capturing this so we can,
Yes.
okay.
Or
So are
ready
you-
to CLA with these conditions?
Or I thought you wanted to see the brick. Do you want to see the brick
I
before?
prefer to see all that before,
Yeah,
as part of
I would say,
the approval.
with regard to the brick color, if we could, say it's gonna be a red brick, I mean, the only reason I'm saying submittal is because even though this briarwood blend with general shale is like one of the most common bricks, and maybe the day he goes to buy it, you can't get it. And so we might have to pick another brick. That's why I'm
Well-
saying, ultimately, when he goes to buy the brick, it'll look like that, unless for some reason, we have to pick a Exum brick in the same color or something like that.
Personally, I think it needs to be specified and viewed. I've been bit before. Picked out one brick and got something completely different for the same reason. It just wasn't available, but didn't know it. Ralph, what's your opinion?
Because he's not gonna buy the brick the day,
Yeah,
What the color of the building's going to be.
it'll be so close to that. I mean, we can manage that. We can go get samples today, but they may not be available then. But what we're telling you is it'll be a multicolor of that red with the, or a red with an ivory to it. We will,
I think to be consistent, you're gonna have to approve the materials. And Matt, if, at the time it's gonna be constructed, if that brick is not available, bring it back in, show the board.
I mean, that would be an intent, this is the.
I understand, sure, but if there's a change, hey, it's no longer available, we can't get it, we're gonna have to shift, I think you'd have to bring it back in and just for a pass, make sure brick looks good, we're okay. That would typically be how we've handled it.
That's the whole bottom line.
The other issue of the slab elevation, they take, I think, a little figure.
Yeah, we need to get the ordinance, because I don't remember what the.
Yeah, I was trying to look it up.
What that dimension is, but I think if it's like 12 to 16 inches, and not higher than 16, I think Matt can make the transition there with the ramp. Now, what about the independent building? Same thing? I see you got planting all along the front of the.
Right, I just did, that same slab elevation applies.
Yeah.
Well, I would say any exposed foundation would be matching brick, so.
Yes, for sure.
Or, again, does that not hold up a COA today? Until it's confirmed that we can do what we're asking per the ordinance? It would seem to be.
I think that's up to the board.
Well,
We could approve the design with these conditions. This is what we've done in the past. Clarification on the foundation, clarification on colors coming back.
Okay. And from a technical standpoint, like foundation, Matt could submit something, to Carol, I could address that just from a consultant standpoint. The requirement of the
Parapet, we got to have course corrected, foundation, colors, what else?
I think you just need to see all of the actual samples.
Can you make a motion to that effect?
Yeah.
This is a little bit of payback.
Got a bit before this. I guess I make the motion that we approve the design concept subject to samples of materials coming back to the board for approval, a rendering of the foundation height, and also from the standpoint that there would be a parapet added to the exposed side on back side of the building. And y'all correct me if I'm wrong, if I've left out anything.
Did you get colors?
Colors coming back.
Okay.
Yeah, colors come back.
Any other discussion?
Yes, just for clarification to me, when you say implement, I'm not sure, is that adding onto the top of the roof to make that not open on the back and the side?
Yes,
Okay.
it's like the wall will extend up.
The same way as it does in the front, except for.
Just to screen.
Okay, yes.
But we need bricks, we also will need hardy samples on colors.
Yes.
It's going to be painted.
Color sample.
And the boys.
Would you normally use, Matt, do you normally use pre-finished, or do you finish on site? Hardy? What do you think GC will do?
I think no problem.
Good.
I mean, I'm accustomed to typically painting it unless we can get a good white that we like. I mean, they're gonna be white.
Okay, so your siding is white?
Yeah.
Okay, siding, window columns.
kind of like the building cat-cornered across from it, that was the intent.
And
Matt stuck to that building.
Smooth siding.
The historical
Remember the discussion we had with the church, that it's smooth.
Smooth siding, right.
It'd be smooth siding.
It is a metal roof? No, it's not.
Portions of it, we have some metal roof features.
Yeah, that sample of metal roof, the shingles, the brick.
What about windows?
Carpet.
Said all the windows would be white.
Is there,
So
was there
one
a sample to be seen?
one of the questions, I guess, tonight, just, is there anything in here that strikes anybody that, if they're gonna bring samples, if the board sees anything on there that they're concerned over, we need to maybe make that known.
The dumpster enclosure is brick, hardy, this is dumpster, what is the dumpster enclosure?
The dumpster enclosure would match,
For the
it's
building.
supposed to match the building.
What you got hardy and you got brick both. One building's hardy, one building's brick, so.
The dumpster.
Typically, it would be brick, with painted, swinging doors.
Here exactly between the two buildings.
Yeah, so you got two things. Would you,
Make it brick if the brick is bad.
You got a hardy building here, then you got the brick building here.
Yeah.
I think brick's probably more appropriate.
I think it's certainly more in line with the brick.
I think it would remain
Right.
in better shape.
And it'll stand abuse and tear wear and tear. Brick enclosure, dumpster.
You want me to ask him, I see them deciding? Is that?
If they hit it, we'll call their insurance.
Okay.
now
All right.
Any other questions?
is there any signage that's being proposed that would need to be looked at, or is that down the road later?
It was submitted to Kirk to be part of the package.
What you said, send it to him an email today?
Sorry.
I was just asking, because he had a.
Friday or today, it was sent to him.
Apologize, we had some.
He told me to get it to him by 5 o'clock to be part of the package.
Okay. He just had to leave early today, so. Yeah.
You got it.
You want to,
Just a moment.
We can add that as a, well, I guess we'll approve it, I mean, right?
you want me to just like point out real quick?
Yeah, why don't you just stand?
Yeah, they're
stand out.
proposing the sign go right here. The landscape will have to be adjusted accordingly. And then that's a sample of the sign. It's an 8-foot tall masonry sign with 4 tenant plaques. And then the address at the top.
And the brick is the same.
Same brick.
Lighted or not?
I don't have an answer for that question, honestly.
We can add that to the conditions for next.
Can you bring that closer?
Yeah, sorry, I meant to say, here comes Pastor.
Pass.
Another one.
That's fine. That's fine.
Landscaping.
All right, we'll call the question. All those in favor say aye.
So the sign is not part of today? Okay.
We'll do this separate.
You gotta find out what this lit and lighted.
Okay.
He can bring that back as part of your
Bring
conditions.
that back.
Yeah, it sounds lit.
It'll be lit.
Any other questions?
Or not lit?
Lay down. You always want the lights pointing down, not up into the sky. You know, our philosophy of Blythewood is dark skies, natural horizons.
You should come to my house and look across the street. Mine used to be dark too.
We'll try to keep this as dark as possible.
Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Mr. Chairman, I'd ask a question.
Yes, sir.
Is this board approving the landscaping design? Or is that, Carol, is that landscape, is that?
Unless the board would like to add something to that, you know, it generally goes by the ordinance.
Exactly. I'm expecting
Yes.
Kirk's going through it.
Yes. Yeah, and it's got an abundance of landscaping. They did narrow the buffer strip just because of so much has to go on the site from 10 feet to 5 feet. But I told them as long as they can get the plant material in there.
Thank you. I appreciate your patience on that. Next item was open citizens comment, and Jeremy signed in.
He's the
Jeremy,
sign.
he just,
He was the guy with the sign.
that's what I thought. He
Yeah.
must have thought this was just a sign issue.
Yeah, he was.
He doesn't have any comments, is what I'm saying. Okay. Does, any board members have anything they need to talk about?
I have something I'd like to present to the board.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Is he leaving? He just walked out the door?
I'm not.
Oh, he's asking a question, sorry.
You're not pushing me in the wheelchair
I'm just gonna
tonight.
push you into the.
He went up the ramp at my house, I thought he was gonna go flying. I got a walker now.
I wanted to just mention this to the board. I met a gentleman, it's one of these divine encounters. I had no expectation of something like this happening. Over the weekend, Patty and I were up in, just south of Charlotte for my birthday. And I met a gentleman named Michael Jeffcoat. It was a very unusual meeting. He was handling a little bistro in a hotel that we were in. And he said, "Where are you from?" I said, "Columbia, South Carolina." He said, "Oh, I've got family in Columbia." And that just struck up a conversation. Well, Michael is a Jeffcoat from the Lexington area. He's a forensic historian. Now, just wait, let that sink in. He's a forensic historian. He researches history. And when I told him about Blythewood, he got quite excited. I wanted to invite him down here at some point and maybe meet the historic committee or something such as that, maybe the BAR. I know we have a historical presence with the historic committee, and I don't remember the gal's name that is the consultant that was part of the conversation on the church.
Stacy.
Stacy. And I'd like Stacy to meet this gentleman too. I just thought that he gives his time, often gives it and does lectures about historical stuff. And I'm working on a project in South Lexington for a ministry there called, it's actually Christ Central Ministries, and they have a large development called Mission Lake. And as we began to talk, he was telling me what actually, he said, "Ralph, do you have any idea of the significance of the Lexington County and Richland County in the making of the history of the United States?" I said, "Well, maybe a little bit." He said, "It's rich." He started telling me things that boggled my mind. And he's familiar with Blythewood, but he's a very engaging guy. He's like, you start talking and it's one thing leads to another. And I was really thinking about the history of Blythewood. He may be somebody that the historic commissioner or the town would benefit by this man's expertise. And not only does he know stuff, he knows how to find stuff, because he's a forensic historian.
Yeah.
He doesn't just read the paper or just, he's a digger. I mean, he's an amazing guy. And I just wanted to mention it to the board and mention it to Carol, to the town, and I know some of you all involved with the historical side as well. At some point, I'm going to get him down in our neck of the woods. He lives in Charlotte, and he travels down to Lexington quite often. His family is still in Lexington. He said the Jeffcoats go back to the foundation of the nation. I said, what? I mean, it's just amazing. But if you don't mind, I wanted to just mention it to you. And at some point, when I get him down here, when I know he's coming, maybe we could do some kind of a meeting with BAR and whoever else might be. And just, he may come in and ask a lot of questions. I would imagine he would come in loaded with some stuff about Blythewood, maybe that would be new. I don't know, perhaps not. But I thought that, I just wanted to mention it. Just met him, a super guy, very insightful, and he was texting me. We actually, Patty and I went to dinner the other night, and he joined us, and because he wasn't doing anything. And I was fascinated by what he knew. He just kept telling stories, and it was really remarkable. I mean, he's got history that I've never heard before about the founding of the nation, and he's pinpointed a lot of stuff. But when I mentioned Blythewood, I said there's a church in Blythewood that was built in the, was it 1700s? 1800s. But anyway, I just wanted to mention that to the board, and perhaps at some point I'll get him to contact the town and maybe set up some kind of a meeting that everyone would benefit by. And he could be a consultant to the town, and then for the historical stuff.
I don't think I've ever heard of this.
I have not either.
Anybody else have anything? Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Someone?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Carol, this is just trash. Right?